Welcome to another session in this series. In the previous session, we ended on question 144. Here we start with question 145. Now, I took a look at this question, and then we would need a diagram, right? But the diagram has something given. We just have this weird Q line, okay? So we have to skip this question. We have to skip that question for now, because we don't know the diagram, okay? Cool. So let's move on to question number 147 before we go to 146. Let's solve 147, okay? Cool. The question says, which of these statements about an acute angled triangle is true? Now, when we say an acute angled triangle, it means that all the angles in the triangle are less than what? 90. Okay? So if we have a triangle here, an acute angled triangle means all the angles are less than 90. So which of these statements meets that condition? The first one says it has 3 equal angles. That is not true. That is not true. And then the second one says it has 2 equal sides. That is also not true. The third one says it has all 8 angles less than 90. Okay, that is true. And then the last one says it has 1 angle less than 90. No, that's not true. So the answer is what? C. Okay, cool. Let's move on to question 146. The question says the interior angles of a pentagon are this: x plus 5, x plus 10, x plus 15, and x plus 20. So what we need to find is what? X. They want us to find the value of x. So we just add everything, then we equate it to our formula. What's the formula for the sum of interior angles? 180 n minus 2, where n is the number of sides, right? N equals number of sides, and in this case it is equal to what? 5, because we are dealing with a pentagon. Okay, cool. So now if we put the 5 inside, we would have 5 minus 2. That would be what? Let's just write it, 5 minus 2, and that will be equal to the sum of all the angles. Okay, so we would have x plus 5 plus x plus 10 plus x plus 15 plus x plus 20. So when we simplify that, we'll get 1, 2, 2x, 3x, 4x, 5x. Okay, we have 5x, then we have 5 plus 10, 15, plus 15, 30, plus 20, 50. Okay, plus 50, and that will be equal to what? 180 times 3. So we say 5x is equal to 540 minus 50. It gives us 490. So we say 5x is equal to 490. We divide both sides by 5. What do we get? 5 cancels out. So we have x to be equal to 98. Okay, when you divide this, you have 98. 98. Okay, so our x is 98, which is A. Cool. All right, let's move on to question number 148. The question says we need to find what? Y in the diagram. Okay, we need to find y. Now, what is y? Here is y. So in order to find y, we can draw a simple parallel line over here. Okay, that line will be parallel to this and parallel to this. Okay, so let's draw a simple dashed line through the point H. Cool. And then you're supposed to find y. Now when you look at this line, if it is parallel to this, then you will say that we would have what? Alternate angles. Okay, so this angle and this angle will be the same. So let's label this side also equals what? Y. Now similarly, when you take this line and this line, we would have what? Alternate angles. Okay, this angle here will be equal to this angle here. So that angle is what? 42. Okay, cool. Now we are told that this whole angle is what? 55. That means when we add 42 and y, we should get what? 55. Okay, so we have 42 plus y. Actually, this is 65, not 55. Okay, should give us 65. So y is equal to 65 minus 42 y will give us 23, okay, which is D. All right, cool. Let's move on to question 149. The question says we should find the value of RPT. It's RPT. So this is the angle we are trying to find, okay? But before we try to find that angle, we see that these two lines are equal. That means this line will give us, this triangle will give us what? An isosceles triangle. That means these two angles will be the same, okay? These two angles will be the same. This angle here and this angle will be the same. Now, when you look at these two parallel lines, how do you know they're parallel? Because of this sign, okay? So these two parallel lines have a line crossing them here and another line crossing them here. And these lines are also parallel. That means we can have what? Corresponding angles. So this angle here will correspond to this, okay? So that if we call this angle to be x, then this angle will also be what? X. Cool. When we are saying that this angle corresponds to this angle, that means x will be equal to what? X will be equal to 40. So our angle that we are looking for, angle RPT, here is also x, which is what? 40. So that angle is angle RPT is equal to 40. But somehow we don't have 40 in here, so we just leave it like that, okay? So our answer is 40. Cool. Let's move on to question number 150, okay? Cool. Now we are told that the magnitude of xy is the same as the magnitude of yz. The length of xy, where is xy, is the same as what? Yz. Yz. So that means this triangle would have an isosceles what? Triangle. Okay? That means these two angles will be the same. This angle here and this angle here will be the same. So if we call this angle to be x, this angle will be also what? X. Okay? Cool. Now, we can find the value of x. Okay? How do you find the value of x? When we add this angle, and this angle, we should get 180 because they sum up to 180. They are a triangle, okay? The angles in a triangle add up to 180. So we have 52 plus x should give us what? 180. Okay, so that means 2x would give us 180 minus 52, which is 138. Okay, so 2x equals 138. 138 or 128? I think it's 128, right? This is 128. 128. So we divide both sides by 2. We have x to be what? 64. Okay, cool. Now, since we know this angle to be 64, then we know that if we say these angles, when we look at these two angles, they should be the same. Why? Because this side and this side are equal. So if this side and this side are equal, that means these two angles will also be equal, right? Now, if we call this angle to be y, and this angle will also be what? Y. Now, when we add y and y, we should get x. Why? Because the sum of two opposite interior angles should give us what? The exterior angle. So y plus y should give us this angle here, which is x. Okay, so y plus y is equal to x. That means 2y is equal to x, and y will be equal to x over 2. Now we know our x to be what? Our x to be what? 64. So we can just put in the value and then we'll get our answer. Y equals 64 over 2, which is what? 32. Okay, which is B. Okay, all right. Now let's move on to question number 151. The question says the interior angles of a pentagon are y, 2x, 3x, 2x, and y again. And then we've been given that y is equal to 3x over 2. So let's write that down right here. So we have y is equal to 3x over 2. Cool. I want this to look even more simpler. So what I will do is, let me divide y over 1. We know that y is the same as y over 1, right? So we can do a cross multiplication. Then we'll have 2y to be equal to what? 3x from the cross multiplication. Okay, cool. Now we know that 2y is equal to 3x. Let's keep this for now, right? So now let's go back to the interior angles of our polygon. Now we know that the sum of the interior angles of a polygon is what? 180 minus 2. But we know here that this n here is 5 because we are dealing with a pentagon. Okay, cool. Will be what? The sum of all the angles we've been given: y, 2x, 3x, 2x, and y. Okay, so we have y plus 2x plus 3x plus 2x plus y. So when we sum this, we have 180. 5 minus 2 give us 2y plus 7x. Okay, because 2 plus 3 plus 2 give us 7. Cool. Now we know that this 2y here is the same as what? 3x. So we can replace this 2y with what? 3x, because you know 2y is equal to 3x, right? So we have 180 times 3, which is 540. So let's write it at once. 540 equals 3x plus 7x, which is what? 10x. Cool. So have our x to be equal to what? 540 10x. We can divide both sides by 10. This 10 will cancel out, so we'd have our x to be what? 54. Cool. So now that we know our x value, we can substitute this x into this formula to find our y. Okay, so that means y will be equal to 3 over 2 times x. We know x is what? 54. Okay, so what this means is 2 can cancel 54 how many times? 27. So our answer will be 3 times 27, which is what? 81. Okay, cool. All right, so which is 81, which is B. Cool. I think we'll have to stop here for now. In the next session, we'll move on to question number 152. Thank you so much for joining this session. See you again next time. Bye.